Hello and welcome along. Hopefully, we're doing all right at the moment. We are live and we are back with Dundee United for another exciting morning of action. Plenty to look forward to, and second time lucky, hopefully, we will be back with the action we needed. So fingers crossed, you're all looking forward to that and we'll be good to go any moment now. So hopefully you're able to join along again. Fingers crossed, we will be back in the action and we'll be able to enjoy it as we were intending the first time around. And let's get going again, because it looks like we're better this time. So thank you for your patience. Hopefully we're all okay now, and we'll be able to get involved ASAP with a match action from Dundee United. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for coming along as always. Do appreciate it still. And we got a lot to look forward to, despite the false start, because there's 5 big games this morning. So let me just post all the links to get people back in, because of course they were all on the old link, and we're back again. So hopefully we're good to go. If you're in the Discord, you'll be able to share it and get it involved because we are back again. And hopefully we're good to go now. There we go. We're back proper now. Happy days. Thank you all for your patience. Started 3 streams, it says. So I had to start a new one. So we've got a bonus one on the channel now at the moment. But we are along now, and that's the main thing. So thank you for coming in. Please do go and share it, and hopefully we'll be back in no time at all with everyone as normal this morning. So hopefully, how are you now? We're back to normal. I can enjoy myself. How are we doing? I hope you're all well. I hope you've had a good week. L Gaming Charlie, thank you for being in nice and early. I hope you are looking forward to it. We've got some big games, so once we get going properly, we have got some big moments in this one. And I can't wait to share them with you. So fingers crossed, there's plenty more to enjoy. I'm just very quickly deleting the other one so we don't cause too much confusion. And then once we're in, this is the one and we're off and going. It created too many short streams from the other one. But this is the main one now. We are back for the morning. And I can come and get involved in the live chat again now. So the big games with Dundee United, as we were saying, before we realised we weren't in proper screen mode, is we've got 2 big games against the sides chasing 3rd place with us. We've also got a big game in the Scottish Cup semi-final, which is of course our realistic chance to win a trophy this year. It's something massively exciting for us. Mikel, thoughts on Paul Cook going to Ipswich? It's a great question. I mean, I'm really quite excited by it. I think he's a good man for it. We did a little show over on our podcast channel where we talked about it, myself and Charlie. So if you want to go and check that one out, you can get a bit more detail because we've probably forgotten the crux of it. I think it does boil down to how the off-the-pitch stuff goes. Because if there's problems with that, I'm not sure it's going to be great. But if he's given time and you give him the patience, I said I think he'll sneak them up in the playoffs this year. But if not, he'll certainly take them up next year. I've got no doubts about that. Well, I was glad to see it's fixed. I tell you what, you always try something fancy, it can go wrong very quickly. So hopefully we'll get there. The Instagram post reminded me of gaming, absolutely spot on. I should really post another one with the updated link, but I did put live on YouTube, so we'll be alright. Thank you for all coming in as well. Given the start and the different streams, to have you nearly in double figures already is absolutely insane. Mikel, thank you for popping in. Lovely to see a new face as well as the regulars. John and John, both good morning to you. I am well, I hope you are too. Thank you for popping in. Charlie, late Glentoran title charge. I mean, let's be honest, Carrick didn't put up much of a fight defensively. We've got to say that. Because it wasn't a good performance defensively. They were so brittle on the counter-attack. But if you're putting 5 past anyone, you deserve an opportunity, don't you? So we're going to give it for sure that Glentoran might put up a fight now. So what do you think, I guess? Because you predicted them to win the league. And after a few games, you looked absolutely ridiculous. But I think you might be right, you know. Because they're right up there. And to be fair, Linfield aren't in the best of form. And there's not really any others chasing bar Coleraine. Crusaders are dropping off. Larne keep dropping points. It really is a fascinating title race. But there's another big game today, isn't there? So we'll look forward to that. Let me just quickly do the redo on Twitter to get everyone that would see it normally in. And hopefully, that's the end of the republications and we're good to go now. Jonah, hello. Thank you for popping in. Appreciate you coming along as always. Massive game in the National League playoffs. There's quite a few, to be honest, today. I do worry about the National League season because if it doesn't get sorted soon, there's going to be some teams that can't catch up. And with no relegation, it's going to cause problems if teams are going away. There are a few concerns I have for it, to be brutally honest. I haven't looked at how many of the fixtures are off today, because it was 4 last week. Because I know, was it Altrincham who had positive tests? But they're now talking about restarting the National League North and South with a reduced format, aren't they? Charlie McMenamin's changed them, to be honest, absolutely. And they've found their midfield balance now. I know that doesn't suit you too much because there's no place in there for Shannon Clucas, who was good to us on the podcast. But Bigger Amana's probably taken a spot. Dale Gorman was very good last night. It looks like McCulloch's coming into his own. Plum, once fully fit, you would assume would be first choice. So there's a lot to consider there. Let me very quickly show you the 3 results off camera with Dundee United. It's been sketchy performances, I'll be honest. We won 3-0 away to St Mirren with our backup team. Watson, Malcolm and Cornick made it comfortable. But even then, it was 2 late goals. And in 2 dodgy 1-0 wins. A Jack Byrne goal against Livingston. He's now out injured for a month. And a Siriki Dembele goal against 10-man Ayr is about all that got us over the line. Shankland missed a penalty. We weren't very good. We probably didn't deserve to win it, in truth. What it does do, though, is put us up to 3rd in the table. Only 8 points behind Rangers with a game in hand. And 9 clear of Hibs, 10 clear of Motherwell, and 12 clear of Aberdeen. But you saw last year, once we got into that top 6 and started playing the big sides, it started to go a bit wrong. So with Aberdeen and Hibs, our 2 games directly before it, if they win and close the ground, it could be troublesome. If not, we can really focus on the Scottish Cup semi-final. And fingers crossed, trying to make it to a big, big event. That's what I'd really love to do. So we'll see if we can get there. Hopefully we'll be able to. Can I just check with everyone who's in now? Thank you all for coming along. Is the sound all right? Is the video all right? Because obviously I'm doing it on a different like streaming software today for the first time. So let me know if it's all okay and it's all working well. Thank you so much to everyone coming along and for your patience this morning. Please do chuck a thumbs up on it if you haven't already. It does make a difference. And particularly this morning, it will help people find us, which is more important than ever. But thank you to all of the regulars and a couple of new faces popping in. Charlie, have I read that Wrexham are applying for academy status? Yeah, thoughts on that if true. Do you know what? It was a real sigh of relief to me. Obviously, it's been much talk about the Hollywood takeover. I'm really thrilled that their first focus isn't let's go and get big signings, let's go and get this. It's let's get the stand at the stadium we can't use back up to and repair to functional status. Let's get an academy status. I'm really pleased with the way they're doing that. L Gaming, what Chesterfield have done is awful. Clubs and people need furlough and they furlough people to sign other people. I don't think we can really complain about Chesterfield too much because there were Premier League sides doing that in the first lockdown. But fingers crossed, it will be something that we don't have to worry about for too long. If this lockdown ends the right way, hopefully, at least for the summer, we'll have a good time. Yeah, it's like a mini league. Yeah, I saw about it. They were talking about that way. It would be nice, really, with all the leagues if they did that. Because a lot of the lower leagues are continuing with like mini cup formats and things like that. So I'd like to see it. Because, I mean, even Craig, I know he's not here yet this morning because he's at work. But his league is step 7 of non-league. And they're doing like a little mini 4x4 cup competition. I thought that's a really good thing to do. L Gaming John, it's all working well. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I'm glad it's working well. If we get new subscribers and channel members and all of that sort of stuff, then there's fancy little graphics and stuff. And it's just as a little thank you thing, really. So hopefully it will all work well. And it means that when I'm doing the video recordings, I don't have to switch the settings on and off. So I know the first time today it caused a bit of trouble. But hopefully it means that in the long term, we won't have to worry. And it also means I can manage Football Manager and see the chat on one screen, which, as you've known before, is something I'm not very good at normally. Yeah, they sound legit, Ryan and Rob. Absolutely. They really have made positive changes so far. I know it can be easy to get carried away. I don't think they will. I just hope that fans don't become impatient and expect, because they're sort of Hollywood stars, that they're going to invest millions and millions and expect it immediately. The infrastructure off the pitch is something that will last forever. So that's more important. The first thing they did was get proper floodlights, apparently. Absolutely. They're the sort of things that have to be done. It really does make a difference. Jonah, opinions on Ipswich. Second one of the morning. So we had a little chat about it over on the podcast channel. We did a podcast, me and Charlie. But in general, Paul Cook, we've been plugging him for championship jobs. He's that good a manager. basically he led Wigan to mid-table last year and then went down on the points deduction. He's a brilliant manager. If you give him time, I've got a feeling he might sneak you into the playoffs this year. But if you give him time, at the very latest, next season with backing and patience, he'll take you up. Dylan, good morning. Thank you for popping in. Do appreciate it. I'm glad all the regulars are popping in again and have been able to find it after the dodgy start. I think the fact that normally most people come in towards like 11:45, 11 o'clock might actually help us today. L Gaming, well, not proper floodlights, but fixed stars. Yeah, just as good though. So what games are off today? Because I can only see that there's 9 games today, sorry. So there's 3 off. Dover aren't in action again. Kings Lynn are just about still going. Halifax said they had to take out a loan, which was really sad to see. And then obviously Sutton v Wrexham on TV this evening. So plenty of excitement. Dylan, I thought Paul Cook would go to Bournemouth. Well, Charlie sort of was plugging in for Sheffield Wednesday. Bournemouth, we thought he might be a fit. Bristol City was someone he probably would have suited as well. Although they got Nigel Pearson, which is a good appointment. I'm trying to think of the other ones earlier in the season that we had. I'm missing out on some of the manager specials here. But there were so many jobs that we plugged them for. I really didn't think he'd drop back into League One. But if the takeover goes well, and again it's a sensible owner that gives him time, sky's the limit for him with patience. Now, the problem we've got as we go and get into the first game today, belatedly of course, is that this game and the last one against Ayr, both in the middle of the international break. So, as it is, we've only got 2 out on international duty now, but it's 2 of our centre midfielders, O'Reilly and McCann. So that's why you've got Mason Bennett in the number 10 role and a few other weird things. But the other problem is, we've got long-term injuries to Jason Kerr, the centre-half. We've got another one to Jack Byrne, who would have covered the number 10 position as well. So we are starting to get a little bit light on players in some positions. But as it is, this is our 11 for today. Rare starts for Glenn Ray, 2 in a row. Mason Bennett's playing number 10 with Cornick off the left. And aside from that, it's largely first team. But I think that's all we can do for now. So let's go and get into it. First game of the morning. And hopefully it's all smooth sailing from here. Dylan, Watford. Yeah, we didn't link Paul Cook with Watford because we're Luton fans and we didn't want to kibosh him like that. I have today bought out the Luton shirt for once as well. So hopefully away to Norwich today we'll be able to put up a fight because I think it will be difficult. Thoughts on the Luton thing I sent in the Discord. It's a good laugh. I don't mind it if it's light-hearted. It's just not getting too serious, isn't it? The last time we played Liverpool at home, to be fair, we drew 1-1. So, and we were in administration then. We won't mention the 5-0 game afterwards where we had a 35-year-old centre midfielder and a League 2 left-back playing at centre-half. But apart from that, it was really good. So the only other thing you might notice in the game today is we've changed the frame rate slightly because it occasionally skipped ones in the matches. So I'm going to watch it as you are to see how it's going to start with. And fingers crossed it won't be too bad. As Shankland finds Dembele on the right-hand side. Early on crosses and nobody's attacking it. That's what Shankland should be doing as a poacher. Mark, no Brit would take the Watford job. I kind of agree with you, particularly after the Pearson situation. Because if we take it into account realistically, he's gone into the job, saved them from certain relegation, and then when he's outside the relegation zone, they've sacked him. So I think the Nigel Pearson things mean people won't now. I actually agree with you to that extent. So I think they're going to be working on foreign managers for a while. And while they've still got those links with Granada and Udinese, it's always more likely to happen that way. But thank you for everyone coming in. After the start we had this morning, it's lovely to have so many of you here. If you haven't yet, please do chuck a thumbs up on it. It does make such a difference. We're almost at double figures, which, again, given the start, is remarkable. And Charlie says, how good is Adebayo, who Luton signed in January? Now, I'm going to give you the answer you probably expect from me, but probably not the one you want to hear, which is don't get too excited yet. You're running on adrenaline the first 3 or 4 games. Eventually, he's going to be a fabulous player. But he is at some point between now and the end of the season going to have that dip as well. The good thing is, in James Collins, we've got an international striker who for 2.5 years, and certainly post-COVID at the start of this season, has needed a break, and he's going to get it. So it's absolutely astonishing that we've got 2 strikers of that quality. We've still got worries about Collins and Pelly and people like that being out of contract, and Sonny Bradley, the skipper, but there's some really positive signs. So if he gets time to work on his game and it's not too much expectation on scoring 2 goals and playing 3 good games, I think we'll be all right. As Mason Bennett, that's a bit of a weird passage there. Comes into Shankland and cleared away, and it stays 1. But that was a very bizarre move, and the way the keeper ran out. I know, great goal Stevie Mallam, wasn't it? Doing that in Turkey now in real life. But Adebayo, very good player. Just don't expect too much too soon because of those couple of performances. L Gaming, my fan page is doing very good now. I did this fan page tournament, and yeah, I saw you did. You had questions with Reece Hall-Johnson, didn't you? He's someone we're trying to get on the podcast. Actually, we really want to get some National League players on, but we appreciate they're playing twice a week at the minute, so we're trying to focus elsewhere. But I guess that's the other massive news of the week to thank you for, which is the podcast passed 1,000 subscribers 3 weeks after reaching 850. It's an absolutely astonishing achievement. So thank you so much for your support with it. Thank you for popping in. And thank you for so many of you who we've seen in the comments, who we've seen and subscribing to the channel. Because it does make a difference and it's got us over the line. And I mean, even since we went to 1,000 2 days ago, we now gained another 20 or so. So it does mean a lot to us. And I've never hidden it. For this channel and for the podcast, we'd love to make it part of our jobs in the long term. I still enjoy what I do and I'd still do a bit of it. As Glenn Ray picks it up, I thought he was going to shoot. And in the end, Matheson does and puts it just wide. But I think again here, it looks like we're going to be relying on a sneaky squeak at 1-0. And earlier in the season, we weren't great at clean sheets. And it only takes 1 minute to ruin it all. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put Watson on the right. Because McDuffie's still tired and injured coming back. Watson on the right, then Dembele left, Cornick in the middle. And then I don't really want to change the rest of the team. I'm going to leave it as is because I've only really got options for the back 4 and strikers, and I don't want to do that. Hall-Johnson was great. He follows me on it and now answered our questions. A very good player. Yeah, he's a quality fullback. I mean, he was one of 3 or 4 signings I highlighted when I picked Wrexham for promotion at the start. But hopefully, once the season's over, he'll come and do a little interview with me as well. As Darren Watson puts in a fantastic finish. And it's 2-0 with 15 minutes remaining. It's exactly what we wanted to see. And hopefully, we'll be able to keep up with that. But with 10 minutes to go, Dembele shattered. We can make another change now. I'm going to bring on Sporrell. I'm just going to put him as a basic winger. Try and steady us up a little bit. And hopefully, we'll be able to get over the line here. Because I think if we win this game, to be 12 clear with 6 to go, I know Motherwell can win their game in hand and make it 10. We can then rest players for Hibs and prioritise the Cup. Because I really want to get to the Scottish Cup final. Don't forget season 1, winning the League Cup was the greatest achievement. If we could win another trophy, that's what builds your reputation. Winning a 2.5-star trophy is going to get you up. But Finley's just dived in awfully there. Mengi's coming across. Who can cope with them? Cosgrove goes wide. Gets the cross in. It's a good block. Well done, Ted and Mengi. Really good cover in there. He's having to play every game because we've got no one with him, really. Charlie, what are your FM plans for the summer? Any mini-series? So, because at the moment I'm really enjoying the 2 long-term stories and they're not near an end, I can see them, to be honest, I could probably see us carrying on with those for the long term. I am going to do a couple of mini sort of experiments or mini-series. So, obviously I've looked at with Craig doing a network save. It's not imminent because, you know, we're both busy with work and whatever, but I definitely want to do a mini Euros based thing. We talked about it a little last week. I said based on this season's channel, how the head coach has worked out and with the live streams, I think it would be rude not to do something based with Scotland, who have already qualified. So, yeah, I think probably that. But otherwise, I'm not quite sure. There probably won't be huge changes. I've said before, I think the biggest thing I'm worried about is the autumn, the new Ashes cricket game, which was obviously a big hit in the channel back in the day and how a lot of people found me, and FM22 are due out around the same time. So unless there's 3 or 4 weeks gap between them, we're going to be in big trouble. So hopefully that won't be the case. But yeah, definitely if we can do the network save with Craig, I'm not going to rush it because we're both busy work-wise. But if so, then that. And also, definitely the Euros thing. And I'd like to do the mini-series with all the people we've interviewed on the podcast. But of course, we're still a couple of positions that we're not covered. L Gaming, I wouldn't recommend messaging players on Insta because unless they follow you, it goes in a request box. Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's quite a difficult one to get players to respond on. We normally use either Twitter or I don't know what's happening to FM here. It's a little bit slow. We normally use Twitter or like emails, things like that. Go through agents. Favourite mini-series I've ever done? That's a good question, actually. I really don't know. My favourite mini-series... There we go, it's come back now. I really enjoyed the Macclesfield one towards the end of last year. Only because it's the first new series I started after everything was set up. Like, I'd found my style. I had the webcam on. I had my production style was a lot better. I had a good thumbnail for the first time. So I think I'd probably say that one just because it meant a lot in terms of the channel. But I know it was a live stream series, but the best short-term mini one, it had to be the Wigan beta this year. Just because the final episode. Go and check it. L Gaming, do you pay players or do they do it for free? We don't have a budget, L Gaming. We're not able to, until yesterday, we didn't have ads on the channel. We want to use that to invest in the content. So we probably can't pay. There's only, to be fair, I will say this fairly, there's only 2 players who have ever asked for a pay. And only one of them has asked for pay themselves. One was for charity and one was for themselves. But everyone else has done it for free. And that's why we're so grateful. Because they've been really brilliant to us. And to be honest, we try and give back a bit. It's really a chance for them to talk about their career without the worry they have to have with certain media that it's going to be twisted into a headline or whatever. Like, we actively take out anything they say that might be controversial unless they want it left in. Because we don't want them to have to worry about repercussions from it. We just want them to tell their love of football, where it came from, how it grew, and how it changed playing or being involved in the professional or semi-pro game. And I hope that the players that are involved appreciate that. I mean, if you look at the Irish League ones we've done, for example, I mean, Charlie still talks to most of them regularly. They're active on Twitter talking to us. They've been really good. So, to be fair, Jacob, a lot of the Irish League and the non-league ones we've done, I'd say probably 2/3 of the interviews we've done, the players wouldn't be earning more than we earn in a month working. I know some of them might have other jobs or whatever else, but, we're not talking about... Most of our interviews aren't with big earners. We've had 1 or 2 who have obviously played at the higher level and had times on bigger contracts, but for the most part, they're just people like us. And that's the thing that people forget. They're just normal human beings like us. And to be fair, like the Irish League ones, as I say, they speak to us with Charlie and they come on and say hello and how are things going and all of that. They've been really supportive, so I can't thank them enough. L Gaming, India smashed England. I watched a bit this morning. I saw Root and who was just before it, Pope, get out. But it's embarrassing when it happens 6 times in a row. We're talking about elite athletes. I know that the pitches aren't good for test cricket for the 2nd, 3rd and 4th test. But when one team's consistently getting hundreds more runs than you, it's a problem. L Gaming, yeah, I've kept touch with Paul Johnson as well after the Q&A, and so many of them are good in that sense. So I've not listened. Thank you for popping in as well. Not listened to your pod. What's the most high-profile guest? I don't know. In terms of high-profile, I probably have to name people like Nicky Shorey because he's played for England as an international. From a Luton point of view, I would say Tony Thorpe. David Robertson's a big name, the former Rangers, Aberdeen, Scotland man. And then from the media side, people like probably Faker, others are most known. But as Charlie said above there, a lot of the better interviews we've had, or the more enjoyable ones, or the more interactive ones, have come from players lower down the pyramid. I mean, like, our most viewed interview on the channel is with Anthony Tsarsevich, who's now at Bolton, but at the time was at Plymouth, and have played at lower league football his whole career. And it's got 3,000 views. It's the 2nd highest viewed video on the channel. It's incredible because he's a really engaging character, and he took the time out with the people who were interacting with the videos to talk to them, to respond to them on forums, on social media. The same for people like Neil Wainwright from non-league, Richard Paquette, and some of the ones from the Irish League that have done incredibly well. So I would say it's always not about the name. That's the one thing we've probably learned. Oh, well done. Thank you. It's very kind of you. Charlie, I won't name names, but to be honest, the better interviews come from players low down the pyramid. Yeah, absolutely. Jacob, imagine if they were talking to the media. And that's the thing. I guess some of them, I mean, Richard Paquette's probably a good example. He did so many interviews about scoring that goal against Liverpool for Hampden and Waterlooville. And he was just grateful that someone wanted to talk about the rest of his career, I think. And Charlie said, look, we have to mention it a bit, but it's not going to be the main part of the interview. We want them to tell their football story, not just that one moment, you know? So that's something I hope we can always do. Oh, we absolutely love it. I mean, for me and Charlie, the interviews are more an indulgence thing because we enjoy them ourselves. But they've really started to do well. I mean, we had Craig Rocastle on the other day, and what a brilliant guest again, you know. Cousin of an absolute superstar at Arsenal. Talks about being in the dressing room with Mourinho and Claudio Ranieri and things like that. And then playing Sheffield Wednesday in a playoff final at Wembley, bringing a massive club back from League One. Playing over in the MLS, something we'd never had an experience of talking to someone before. And you get something different out of everyone. So it's been great, to be honest. Panthers, good morning. Thank you for popping in. Lovely to have you along this morning. Charlie, talking of cricket, that Pakistan run out this morning. One of the most astonishing things you'll ever see. I retweeted it, so you can have a look on Twitter. But it's like Sunday League coming to international sport. It's fantastic. It was meant to say, I know... Oh, yeah, absolutely. Not to worry. I'm trying to keep up. It's lovely to have such an active chat. It means you end up doing the replay, just see me babbling nonsense as I try and catch up. SOF and stuff, I was at the Hampden and Waterlooville game. Oh, brilliant. So are you a Liverpool fan, are you? Or are you a Hampden and Waterlooville fan? I shouldn't be rude and assume, should I? And if you're a Liverpool fan, were you then at Liverpool-Luton a few years later? The replay where we had no players left. Right, we've got Hibs. How long have we got until the Cup semi-final? A week. So what I want to do then is anyone who's got... In fact, we'll probably just rest everyone. I know it risks us going out of form, but I'd rather they have a game off and be fit again. Siegrist is going to stay as number one, I think, because Baxter... I don't know, he's played alright when he's come in, to be fair. But for the league game, I'm not going to do it. The problem is at centre-half, we've only got 3 players. But over the season, Finley's played a lot less. So I'm going to bring him in, and we'll play him alongside young Lewis Nielsen. Let me quickly catch up with the chat before picking the rest of the team. Panthers, Honest Football Podcast has been a saviour for me. I struggle a lot with lockdown, and when I watch some of the podcasts, it's enjoyable and takes my mind off. I really appreciate that. It's exactly what we wanted, to be honest. We're really... I mean, that was the thing for us. It saved us a bit as well, because we used to go every Friday night, and the podcast was an excuse to play Pro Evolution Soccer 2 in Charlie's living room for 4 hours. To be brutally honest, that's what it was. I mean, we've taken it a bit more seriously, but we've still tried to keep it light-hearted and make it a bit like when we were gathering there. We'd really love to, once the lockdown's fully lifted, for the second week of group games in the Euros, to be able to do a live stream from Charlie's room, so you can see sort of what we used to do, but just with a camera on us and us having a chat. It's so informal, it's so laid back. But I'm really glad it's helped. And, you know, from my day-to-day job, I know that mental health's becoming one of the biggest things. So to be able to give people 20, 30 minutes of respite a week and just something to enjoy, particularly with the interviews, it's something where you can zone out for an hour and just enjoy someone's happy memories. So for us, it's been as important. So I'm glad it has for you as well. Paquette started for QPR in a playoff final at the Millennium Stadium. Exactly. And no one's ever asked him about it. It's a massive moment that most people never experience. And everyone just focuses on you scored a goal against Liverpool, you know. MLS, the world-class players nursing home. It was quite interesting, actually. Not so much the MLS bit, but he talked about playing indoor football, which it's not like indoor football here. It's massive, like off-the-wall stuff, like playground style. And it's such a big sport in America, or it always was. And he talked about trying to play that as a professional footballer. It was astonishing. It's one of my favourite things I've heard on there. Jack, good morning. Thank you for popping in. Didn't manage to catch midweek. Are we happy with Dundee United now? Pretty much. I mean, we've cemented third place, more due to other teams' poor forms. We've started to recover defensively, but we've got to rotate today, so that's probably going to go out the window. But really, whether we're happy or not depends on the next game. We've got a massive match in the Scottish Cup semi-final against bottom side St Mirren. And if we win that, we get to the final and everything is looking right and rosy. McNulty in up front. We've got loads of attacking midfielders, so that should help us. We're going to go for Cornick, Bennett and Duffy. Darren Watson, the super sub again. I'm just leaving out anyone who's got a heavy match load, basically. I know it leaves us short in centre mid, but Davenport and Ray are decent enough. And they can go on the bench. Thank you for all making the chat so active as well. It's great to have you all along this morning. Sporrel's a good sub. Ray's a good sub. And then of the centre, I think we have to put Mengi on as a centre half. And the other one can be young Callum Donaldson. So that's what we're going to go for. It's good to see that Dembele, touchwood, hasn't had any injury problems after 4 or 5 months. So I think he's back to full fitness. And bar Stuart Finley, no one with a heavy match load in the lineup. And only Mengi on the bench. So we might lose this game, but it could well be worth it in the end. Is that Wrexham's racecourse ground by any chance? Bangor City, yes. So in the Bangor save, all of our home European games, after the first 2 qualifiers, because of the capacity limits, are at Wrexham's racecourse. So it's featured quite heavily. SOF, I've also experienced Champions League from the racecourse with Bangor when Liverpool played TNS, yes. So we use it in the Bangor save and Liverpool played TNS there. I completely forgot that. It's basically the Welsh football's go-to ground, isn't it? Jacob, the MLS is a better standard now than it used to be. Completely agree. I mean, the problem is that it's not really that visible on British TV now, is it? And it's not at convenient times. And it's not well publicised. It's sort of got a reputation, but it is now largely full of younger players from sort of the South American and the Middle American, Central American countries progressing. We've got a corner kick early on with Duffy into the back post. It's headed away, but we're not going to get anywhere soon by the looks of it. Up the Wrexham. L Gaming's getting people onside. Jacob, MLS in the Great League for me. The playoff system to determine the winner. Do you know the only thing for me that I don't like about the MLS? I don't mind the playoff system for the winner because, you know, I know it's not for the title, but we do that with the playoffs in lower leagues in England, is that there's no relegation. And any league where there's no relegation, even look this year at sort of the Irish League or the National League, the difference in the way the teams at the bottom play when they know they're not going down, it does, particularly when it does take away a bit, because then you end up with a less competitive edge at the bottom. But otherwise, it's a good standard league. I just wish they would introduce a promotion relegation system rather than being all franchise. SOF, Paquette was a great player for me on Champ Manager 96-97. That's what people forget. He was a great young player. Did really well at QPR. Played in a League One playoff final. L Gaming is load FM off to Wrexham now. Not if we win the Scottish Cup. But hopefully Wrexham are doing well without us. As Harry Cornick gets his second goal in his time here. And we've taken the lead remarkably. I did not expect that today. Maybe we are just finding a bit of momentum. Although that could be famous last words. Jacob wouldn't get too confident about St Mirren. They beat Rangers to get to the final. They did, but they're bottom of the league in this save and really, really poor. They've lost a lot of players. Don't forget, we beat them 3-0 with a backup side in the league a couple of weeks back. Unless perhaps they're saving themselves for it. But you can never be too confident with this Dundee United side, as O'Connor and Nisbet are really teaming up there. And we're having to work quite hard to get out of it. I need to catch up with a banger save. Haven't had a chance recently. It's not a problem. We've all got things getting in the way, but any chance that people can watch things is much appreciated. I've said the same before as well, because a couple of people have asked me about adverts and things and how it works. If they're over a minute, just skip them. Please do, because I've seen there's quite a few at the moment that are like 45 minutes or half an hour or whatever. Don't sit there and watch them. It's not worth your while. If you can watch anything up to 30, 40 second ones, it really does make a difference. But please don't watch the long ones, because I've been asked a couple of times. Jack, are you on 2 screens now? Chatting one and gaming the other. So it's not 2 screens now, but I've changed streaming software so I can see the game live and see the chat at the same time, which is the biggest difference maker and the reason we've done it. I know it led to a full start today, but otherwise very good. Mark, you're talking about Josh O'Connor. Yeah, he's a good player. Gary O'Connor was a decent player as well. He used to be the most famous player that shared my birthday, so that was the reason I remembered him. But Josh O'Connor, we had him in the head coach when we were at Hibs, and he was really good young player there as well. We couldn't really give him as many chances as he deserved, but he certainly was a decent footballer. The two wingers are shattered, so Cornick, despite playing well, will be replaced by Darren Watson. Duffy will be replaced by Sporrell, who will just go to a winger role. And I don't want to speak too soon, but it all seems to be going a little bit too well at the moment. Mason Bennett's not had a good game, so we'll replace him with Finn Malcolm, who we know is a good number 10. We'll get him up as a shadow striker. And we tend to go, it looks like we might cling on here. We're just going to drop to balance because they've gone 4-4-2. And hope we can keep the ball a bit. As O'Reilly goes right, oh, he's giving it away. Don't do it like that. The shot goes wide. Oh, not a big fan of that. So what we're going to do actually, we're going to drop the wing-backs to defensive duties. Because we don't want them getting caught too far up the pitch. And then what we'll go and do in the instructions with 4 minutes of stoppage time is time waste, is be more disciplined, push the tempo up so they just get rid of the ball, slow the pace down, hold our shape, and drop the lines of engagement. I know it can backfire, I know it doesn't always work, but even a draw out of this with the side we've put out is a decent result. Jacob, 45-minute advert, that's disgusting. Absolutely. It's from a certain technology brand who produced my computer screen, which is a makeshift TV, basically. Or a makeshift computer screen that is a TV. So I won't get too wound up by them. But yeah, it's a bit obscene. I was watching I think the video I wanted to watch was about 7 minutes long, and the advert was 45. But if you ever want a shout out for this on a podcast, you don't have to plug me on your page. Don't worry about it. Honestly, I don't want you to... because I realise when you plug other things that you can lose people. Like at first here, when I used to mention a podcast, the odd person would drift away. But, it's something we're passionate about. And the two basically go hand in hand. So it's something I always like to do. And, while we're in lockdowns and particularly while we're recovering and that, it's nice to have something to take your mind off things. Thank you to everyone coming in as well. Lovely to have so many of you here. I think this is a record for about 7 or 8 weeks now. So please do put a thumbs up on it if you haven't yet. We're just one away from double figures, so it would make a big difference. But hopefully you're enjoying the stream after the full start. And actually, timing-wise, from when we physically started this one, we're not doing too badly. We're only actually 5 points behind Rangers now, because we're doing really well in these big games. We're rotating aside. The young players are starting to make a difference. My worry is, as soon as Mockery did that, like Nielsen is now, he got sold off for big money. So are we going to have a mass exodus in the summer? Because with us not progressing past Shamrock Rovers in Europe, we've lost £1 million that would have been in the coffers. Should we go and quickly see how Mockery's doing as well, having moved to Arsenal? He's in the 23s. He's a breakthrough prospect. He's only played 2 under-23 games for them. He's not really developing as much as he was when he was playing football. So there's a lot of frustration there. I'm glad that Mark's asking Charlie the questions today. Thoughts on the local area getting a new subway would be great. It's only a rumour at the minute, but they've stripped out the store, so we'll wait and see. Six if you're going for sort of a breakfast to lunchtime, and footlong if you're going lunchtime to evening. But when you're doing delivery now and you're home alone, then you have to get 2 6 inches or a footlong, otherwise you don't get a full meal. But yeah, normally it used to be that whenever I was going up north to watch a football game on Saturday morning, because the Milton Keynes train station, that was the only option. That and there's like a little M&S shop. It was the only place you could sit in really. So I used to go in there and just get a lunch for breakfast. Would you recommend me asking former Wrexham players for Q&As or not? I think it's a good idea. It's a good way for you to grow the channel with your fan base. Obviously, get in contact with Neil Ashton because he's someone who said yes to us, so I'm sure he would to you. We had to change his video interview to a written one because obviously he's at home and there's a lot of background noise. But for you, because yours are mostly written, that would make a big difference for you. And he's a club legend, so I'd recommend him. Charlie's footlong every time, but you have to remortgage your house from Marinara. Slightly excessive, but I take your point. Particularly now, because everything's on delivery service, they're asking you to pay their commission, basically, aren't they? So they're all 10% more. But I did have a tie last night, which was unbelievable. Jack signed Mockery back on the cheap in a couple of years. That's the plan. I don't know. How long was his contract? I didn't check. Chris Mockery, 2027. So he's only actually got a 4-year deal. So once he gets to the last year of that, we might be able to get him back. But who knows if we'll still be at Dundee United or going at that point. Jack sign Mockery back on the cheap. Dylan, which failed youngster do you wish had made it? I guess based on my FM nostalgia, I'd have to say Freddie Adu. Because he was unbelievable the first games. Cherno Samba, just because again he's someone Charlie's talked to on social media. His story's unbelievable. But in terms of on a personal, particularly thinking from the podcast as well, for those of you who started your manager gaming back in LMA Manager 03, there was a player on there called Neil Wainwright. He was at Darlington. He was a brilliant youngster. Had gone to Sunderland. It hadn't quite worked out due to injuries. He actually very first started at Wrexham as well. But he, unfortunately, he talked a lot about it with us actually. The pressure and the putting too much expectation on yourself. But in terms of a player making it, he had so much talent. But Mark, yeah, Freddie Adu's got to be up there as well. Gaming, you don't have to feel guilty about that. As you've seen before, I'm not at a stage where I'm asking for donations and that yet. Obviously, it's lovely. I'm never going to complain, but it's not something I'm going to actively push for at this stage because there are a lot of people in a tougher time financially, you know. And while I'd love to make this part of my job longer term, while there's this uncertainty around, it's probably not the right time. So it's certainly not going to be just yet. And, you know, I'm lucky that I've got a job. I'm still earning my wage. Yes, there's an element of risk with what we do and the environment we work in, but can't complain in the grand scheme of things. So am I the only one who's answered the Subway question with something other than footlong every time? But in terms of the podcast, we've got some really exciting interviews coming, so keep your eyes peeled for them. Obviously, the championship predictions continue. The manager specials, I think, will dry up a little bit. Mark, you had a player in Premier League Manager 97 from something Christie from Darlington. Is that... I'm just wondering if that's Malcolm Christie, who later went to Derby. Because that's the one I'm thinking of at the time that was... Like, he was a proper talent and had so many injuries. But I don't know if he ever played for Darlington. No, he didn't. So it's not him. You're making me go on a hunt now. Darlington Christie. I'm basically just putting off the cup semi-final. Ah, hang on. Who's this guy? I think that might be a bit too late. Oh, he's 44, so it might be him. Let's have a look. Don't know. No, I thought I'd found it for a minute, but it's not right. Although Malcolm Christie, I've then found an article where he's discussing Darlington, so maybe it was him. Isidon Christie, so this is the one I found on here, but it never said he played for Darlington. Jacob Footlong, no, just get a salad instead. There was some, I mean, the old Championship manager, obviously the scouting wasn't as in-depth. Now, they very rarely get them wrong. I guess thinking a bit later down the line, I think one from a few years back, believable. There was another striker the same year, but I can't remember. There was one called Zeefoyk or something, wasn't there? A Dutch player. He was one that was exciting. Yeah, I think they're the main ones I can think of. On who was the midfielder? Labyad. He seemed to be coming good now, but he had a spell as well, didn't he? Dylan, how's Cal Naismith doing at Luton? He's been brilliant. We've had an injury crisis at centre half, and he's played there in both the last 2 wins. He's been absolutely brilliant. Real quality. Obviously, he came in because Reece Norrington Davis got poached, and he's ended up at centre half. It's been interesting, but in terms of the versatility and the consistency he produces in each position, I mean, what a signing. And all I would say is, what was he doing in League One? Because he shouldn't have been there by any stretch. Obviously, we had him at Cliftonville in FM20. We had him in the beta save. And I feel guilty because I didn't really give him a go in the beta save. But quality player. Seems like a nice guy. So fingers crossed, there's a place for him in the squad long term. L Game, yes, but it would be no problem if you wanted me to in the future. I'm not horrible at them. I do appreciate the offer. It's something we will look at longer term. Particularly in terms of editing. Because the less editing you do, the more work and content you can make, which particularly for us, like with the podcast, we'd love to do League 1 and 2 predictions as well as the Championship. Me and Charlie have always wanted to do Northern Irish weekly ones because we've got quite a following from the Irish Premiership now because of the interviews. So that's something we'd like to do long term. But at the moment, we're just trying not to overwork ourselves to an extent. Particularly situations like me and Craig working full time, Charlie near enough the same, and he's only term time, isn't he? But then he's got a young child, so you know, life gets in the way at times. I'm useless at editing though, so I can't do that. It's the visual side we struggle with. Dylan, you're absolutely spot on. Jackson Irvine for Hibernian. I was so surprised, the same as Matt O'Reilly at the start of this save, that Jackson Irvine's a free agent because he's a good footballer. And I don't really know what he's doing down there. A lot of tweets about... Oh, Mark Kerr always gets a chat. A lot of tweets about him resigning from Ayr from Champ Manager fans. Oh, re-signing, sorry. Yeah, he was one of the highest potential midfielders in the game. He's a brilliant young player, though. And a lot of them, it's either injuries or mentality. Because it's the hardest thing to predict when you're scouting young players. You can only see how good they are. You don't really have that background knowledge of what they're like as characters. So... I kind of understand it to an extent, but there's always going to be the odd one like that. We were talking about this the other day, actually, because Miles Jacobson did an interview where he was talking about getting bribe offers from agents and scouts and things like that. And I just thought, like, me and Charlie were talking about it, he must be one of the most powerful men in world football, because so many clubs rely on his database as a scouting system. And he's the CEO of the game, isn't he? So... If a player signed on his back, he's basically determining which young players are going to get signed, are going to get contracts, things like that, to an extent, and which other clubs take a punt on release players. He's so much of that, and it must be a weight to have thinking about it, but it's something, thankfully, he's always done well and produced a brilliant game with still. Score predictions for Wrexham v Sutton. Close game. As I said earlier, Sutton, on the Discord, Sutton are just dropping off the boil slightly. They really started well. They surprised us. They've got a good team, by the way. But, I mean, they did beat Bromley in midweek, and they did beat Dagenham before that, two of the bottom sides. Well, I suppose, actually, they've been in pretty decent form. It was late January, I remember them stuttering. They struggled against Altrincham. They struggled they drew away at Torquay. They lost to Hartlepool. But since then, actually, I've been in good form. I've done them a bit of a disservice. So maybe it will be a close game. In terms of players, they've got a lot of experience there. Like Harry Buteman and Craig Eastman in midfield. Will Randall went there, I think, in the summer. Have they still got the Australian guy in goal? Dean Buzanis from the old Liverpool youngster. I'm not quite sure about that, but they've got some really good players. They've got some good experience. They've got a few decent young wide players. They've got a bit of pace in the team. They've got a bit of everything, really. So I can see them being up there. And don't forget, they're only actually 1 point off the top with games in hand. So if they win tonight, they probably will be top, because Torquay are stuttering too. But then equally, like I said about Wrexham, they're in the title race now. They're only 8 points off. After all of that about the start of the season, they're 8 points off. And you could argue that having played more games is a benefit at this point, because if you're then playing 2-3 games a week later in the season and you can't name the same side when everyone else is just basically playing Saturday and putting those teams in, you never know. But we're in March and no team's really played much more than half, so I don't really see how we get to the end of the season, to be honest. I'll wait and see. Mark, I think it's because of Jackson Irvine's moustache. Yeah, Holding, I guess, let's be fair, it's probably not that Holding give him a new contract. I doubt he would have wanted to stay after relegation. All the other very good players at Hull were sold away. Don't forget, in that January, they were comfortable. They were mid-table, and then they sold 3/4 of their goals in Malik Wilkes, Kamil Grzycki, and most importantly, of course, Jarrod Bowen. Now, I can understand the Bowen one. It was massive money. It was an opportunity that he couldn't refuse. But then to sell Grzycki for less than £1 million, to sell Malik Wilkes to one of the relegation rivals in the Championship, I think it was arrogance that they thought Barnsley couldn't catch them. And it really turned out to harm them. Thankfully, clubs don't look at my stats in FM to decide whether to hire me. the thing is, when the same for young coaches applies to young players, doesn't it? They don't really know much about you. Like, because we've got a physio at our work who got asked about it because he's down a Stevenage under 18s. And he just got asked for basically his height, weight, and a few basic details, not really what he was like. Charlie, Miles Jacobson said he only changed a player's stats once. The player sent him a video. Yeah, I remember him saying that. I can't remember who it was now. But yeah, he sent like a race from training, didn't he? Sutton Page calls him Dino. Oh, so he is still there in goal. Dover casually chilling with 8 games in hand. I feel so sorry for them because they're in an area of the country where there's a bit of a problem. I think Dover's last 2 were actually COVID related rather than not fulfilling fixtures. But what can you say? They're not a bottomless pit of money, and I don't blame them for not wanting to take out a loan. And they are one of the few that voted against it last year, to be fair, and said this isn't sustainable. So you have to back them there. Wilkes still plays for Hull. Yeah, but he went on loan last season, the second half. They sent him on loan in January to Barnsley. He kept Barnsley up and then went back to Hull. Am I right? Or am I thinking of someone else? I'm sure it was Malik Wilkes. I'm going to go and have a look now. Yeah. Oh no, it was the other way round, wasn't it? He was at Barnsley and they sent him on loan to Hull. You can completely ignore me. Where am I looking? Oh yeah, so you can take that one back because he went the other way. There's me not doing my research. Or forgetting my research. Have you watched the #United documentary? I haven't, to be honest. It's not something that hugely interests me. Like, I've got nothing against them. They're doing well for themselves, fair play. But I'd rather watch, like, other non-league teams and things like that. Because, you know, # get a load of publicity and things. They're sustainable. They're fine. I'd rather look after some of the other clubs. And to be honest, the sort of behind-the-scenes stuff in terms of marketing and that side of it, it doesn't really interest me a huge amount. So that's the only reason why. But they're doing well for themselves. You've got to say fair play. There's nothing against them. Right, who are we going to play on the wings? Because everyone's in good form. I almost want to play Cornick because he played really well last time out. But the better wingers are definitely Dembele and Duffy. And probably Bennett. But we're going to go Dembele right, Duffy left, Shankland up top. And I guess the big thing is we've got a strong bench now. We've got 4 attacking players that can come on and change the game. We're going to get Ray on as a centre midfielder, Sporrell on as a utility man, and probably Dehaney as the fullback. So that's the lineup for today. Oh, we've got our 2 keepers in the squad, and Baxter's got a knock as well. Oh, what a time for it. I don't really want to take Watson off the bench. Do I take Sporrell, who's not been in great form? Do I take Bennett, who was poor last time, albeit out of position? Yes, I take Bennett off. Jack Newman on. It is the Scottish Cup semi-final, and this is probably the make or break moment of the season, to be brutally honest. Gaming, this Chesterfield guy said they only did that because of no relegation, and they should promote a team who can be bothered to play, but I disagree with him. No, I completely disagree. You've got to understand, clubs like Dover and that, I don't like to do the teams like, but they're tiny clubs. They're community clubs that have worked their way up. They haven't got big backing. Dover's in an area of the country where there's always going to be like strains of COVID and things like that because of where it is. It's the fact that it's one of the main ports coming into the country. There's other things to factor in there. And they voted against it the whole way because they said it's not sustainable to afford. What's happening at Barnet from League 2, practically rock bottom of the National League? It's off the pitch again. Darren Curry left at the end of the season after getting them to the playoffs. Loads of players followed suit. They then sacked Peter Beadle, who was doing all right at the start of the season, because they thought with a poor squad they should still be in the playoffs. And now they're getting found out for it. It's the ownership, and we've said this so many podcasts when we're doing the manager specials. If off the pitch is a circus, a club will not succeed for long on it, and Barnet is a prime example of that. What is good is coming back next season for us. It's a relatively local club to go to and do a match day vlog or something like that. So there's positives there. But it's sad to see it because they were always a good club. Thank you to everyone coming in as well. Please do chuck a thumbs up on it if you haven't already. It does make such a difference. We're into the St Mirren game. We're having a good bit of fun here. But if we lose this, the cup semi-final, after all of our hard work, we'll be back in a strop again. It will all get undone. They've got Josh Doig on loan. They've got in behind and they've hit the crossbar. They really should have scored from there as well. There's a lot of sort of nerves there, just hacking at things, trying to get it away. Really is a bit of a worry, to be honest. But we're coming down the left-hand side here as O'Reilly picks it up. Tries to get the cross in, cuts back to Mallon in the end. Duffy turns inside to Dembele, back to Duffy. Somebody shoot. It's back to Mallon, to McCann. The chance has gone. And we're going to have to go wide again. Matheson gets towards the byline. Doig brings him down. Oh, that's what El Gaming. You talked about that, don't you? Josh Doig has made a brilliant tackle on Luke Matheson. And the ref's given us a penalty. Oh, he sent him off. Oh, my words. That was never a red card. I mean, I'm not going to complain. But how on earth has the referee given a red card for that? To make things worse for St Mirren, Shankland's penalty just sort of dribbles under the keeper. But Josh Doig, a former hero for us in the head coach, has had the harshest red card I think I've seen all season. I was surprised enough when the penalty was given. To give a red for that. Oh, wow. To be fair, they're still keeping men up there, but we've got a great chance now. As Matheson into Shankland, it's 2-0. No, it's disallowed. If anything, I'd argue that was onside, though. Jack Watson on 15 goals. Yeah, he's a big goal scorer. But McNulty and Shankland have both got more. Okay, I mean, I feel sorry for Dover, but not for Barnet because they're a big club. Well, Barnet is because they've been mismanaged or not very well off the pitch. But Dover, it's just there isn't the money there. The same for the likes of Kings Lynn down there. They're going to run out eventually. St Mirren, Rob Jacob, you're absolutely spot on. I mean, we're going to win this game now. We've gone 2-0 up, and I feel a bit for St Mirren because it's taken the contest away. Or at least I hope it has from our point of view. But thank you everyone for getting involved in the chat. Come and let us know who your team's playing today. I do appreciate you all joining in. And hopefully we can celebrate with a Scottish Cup final appearance in the next episode as we finish the season on Tuesday night. And we won't hopefully have a full start in that one. Now we've worked out how to use the new software. As we get to Duffy on the left side of the box. Tate challenges him. Could have been another pen there. Shankland makes it 3. And now this is becoming a field day. It's going to be great for us to win heavily. But you've got to feel for Dover. You have to. I said Dover there, didn't I? St Mirren. Oh dear. I'm all over the place now. No double jeopardy rule in FM with that red card. Well, I think they're suggesting it was violent conduct, perhaps. It can't have been for a goal-scoring chance, because Matheson was going wide from the edge of the box. Wasn't really a goal-scoring opportunity. I think they've probably given it. I mean, we'll look after. But my instant impression is they thought it was a really bad tackle or something. Jack, what a terrible call, absolutely. El Gaming can't stand Kings Lynn. Don't judge the whole club. We interviewed one of the players. He was really good. I don't really know about the chairman. The manager's a really good football man. The players are good there. But I don't know the chairman, so I can't say on that. Jacob St Mirren robbed, absolutely. SOF Dover, yeah. See, I've corrected myself not long after, but all over the place. Once you get talking about something, you very quickly lose it, don't you? With 15 to go, we will make changes after this highlight. Give a few a run out as Mallon gets it to Mitchell on the left wing. Chance to cut it in. Dembele's there. And it's in for 4. The keeper probably could have done better again. But let's go and make a couple of changes. The most tired man is O'Reilly. He'll be replaced by... Let's bring McNulty on. He can be as the number 10. Dembele replaced by Darren Watson. And Tyrant Mitchell's complacent. So let's give Sporrell a run out. We didn't expect him to come on. But 4-0, tie over. And we can look forward to the final. All we've got to hope now is that I think it was Ayr in the other semi-final managed to shock Rangers. Because if they do that, we've got a great chance of winning a trophy. As Torres gets in behind, back to Glover. It's good to see that St Mirren are still having a go. They're still pushing forward. Oh, Kingsland commentators you meant. Oh, that's fair enough. But to be fair, all the club commentators are biased and silly. I mean, we had the same with... I'm not the biggest fan of the Luton one. And there's others that are even worse. St Mirren will be in the championship season next season, absolutely. Dan, what's your favourite version of Championship Manager FM? Well, look, I'm enjoying this year's content-wise more than any. So, recent history, I'd say this one. I guess all time, probably the ones I remember enjoying the most were 06 and 07. Because that spell, that 3 years, sort of, after trying it in 05, really hooked me. I guess management game-wise, I have to say LMA 03 as well was a big influence, as we've managed to get ourselves down to 10 men with injury. Michael Duffy just can't stay fit this year. But I'd probably say this year's, to be honest, it always improves. You naturally pick your favourite FMs based on where your best saves were or your favourite saves. And I've enjoyed this year's more than ever. Probably FM18 I had a couple of good saves. 15 I had a brilliant San Marino challenge. But yeah, this one. Oh, it looks like it's going in 3-year patterns, doesn't it? Chesterfield and Kingsland are the worst. I can't comment, obviously. But you'll probably be glad when they're on BT, so you don't have to worry about the other stuff, do you? Right, we're in the final. We need to find out who we've got. Thank you to everyone coming in. We're just 1 thumbs up from double figures, so if you haven't yet, please do chuck one on there. It's lovely to have you also involved in the chat. It does make a difference. And thank you again for your continued support on the videos, because it's blowing my mind. At this stage last year, we were getting 30 or 40 views a video, and rightly so for some of them. But now, we're still getting 200 before the next one's out, or 300 with a head coach. It's incredible. Duffy played really well, but now he's out for 3 to 4 weeks. Who have we got in the final? I'm guessing the second one's tomorrow. So we'll wait and see who wins it. But the main news is Scottish Cup final. Looks like 3rd place in the Scottish Premiership. We're doing just about as well as we can. We got to the knockouts in Europe, albeit losing a game we probably should have won. Oh, we've also had the top 6 games drawn now. So our last game of the morning will be Motherwell next weekend. And then we've got 4 league games to finish the season. And it could be a double Rangers double header to finish off in the league and the Scottish Cup final. Because I presume, barring an absolute shock, they're probably going to win it. L Gaming, I'm going now. Really enjoyed the stream. Thank you for popping in. Lovely to have the regulars in and a few new faces dotted around too. But your support is all incredible. So thank you for your support. Thank you for coming and being involved in the chat. And I hope all your teams win today, unless your team's Norwich. So let's get some of these youngsters a bit of fitness. Finn Malcolm's going to have a game. Callum Donaldson's going to have a game. Davenport the same. And I think we can do that with Morgan Boys as well. Oh, Baxter too in goal, because he's a youngster. There's some really impressive signs here. We're becoming a brilliant team. Jacob, where are the graphics you were talking about in the Discord? So the graphics, they're not set graphics the whole way through. For me, the main thing, so there's the behind the scenes graphics. There's 2 chunks, which are that when I'm watching, I can watch the chat, I can see you subscribing, I can see all that stuff as well. But the graphics that will be on the screen are like if a new person subscribes while we're streaming, later down the line for donations, members and all that sort of stuff. But mainly, it's just so when people come and find the stream and subscribe, there's a little pop-up and things like that. I've no idea if they work, because they're not going to be hugely frequent for a channel like mine. But moving forward, it will make a big difference to the channel. Zeno, welcome along. Thank you for popping in. Do appreciate you joining in. Thank you for coming along and spending your morning with me. And thank you for all the thumbs up on it as well. It does make a massive difference. I hope you're enjoying the stream after the full start. I hope most of you managed to find it okay afterwards. And fingers crossed, we can finish off the morning in style, because so far, it's been completely plain sailing. Rangers have won their semi-final. We've not had a notification there. There it is. 20th of May, Rangers Scottish Cup final. And they've had a poor season. After winning the league the first 2 years, they're miles off it this year. So we've got a big double header against them to finish Tuesday's stream. 6 days apart. What I'd like to do is get in a position where we're within 3 points of them. I know it's very unlikely. But then, when we play against them, they'd have to play their first team in the league to wrap up second. And we can rest everyone for the cup final. That's the plan. SOF, I never thought I'd watch a video on FM, if I'm being honest. Used to like reading about people's saves online and stuff, and found you on FM base because you were Bangor and I like doing these saves. Oh, I appreciate it. I'm glad you found it. To be honest, I'm much the same as you. I used to love like the Sports Interactive forums and that. I always used to go in the San Marino Challenge one and do the updates on there. I only found it because basically one year I did the classic footballer's injury with the leg breaks and the ankles, caught glandular fever just after, and I was in bed for a month, and then I never knew it existed. And then I found it, and that was it. And once I was doing all of the forum stuff, and then we started the podcast a year or so later, I realised how possible it was to create videos. So just thought I'd give it a go. And look where we are now. It's ridiculous, really, isn't it? And to be fair, like the live streams like this, Football Manager isn't the main part, is it? It can provide some excitement. I think that's another thing with the Twitch side of it as well, which people have asked about. A lot of that, the main focus is FM, whereas for me, it's just talking to the people who watch the videos a lot. Zeno, it's going well. I hope you're well as well. But thank you all for the kind words. I do appreciate it. Zeno, my 16-year-old Nugent in my Barnet save scored 2 goals against Palace in the 3rd round of the Cup. Make sure you've got him on a good contract because there'll be clubs swarming around him. And if you've still got the same owner as the start, he'll just accept the offer, like ours did here for Mockery. Mark McCann, Mallon and O'Reilly really is a delightful midfield trio. You're absolutely spot on. It's also a bit of a mouthful to say. But yeah, it's the best midfield trio we've had for a long time. If we could have had Mockery off the left still, would have been even better. Because longer term, Mockery and Watson on the wings off Shankland is one hell of a front six and probably could compete for a title. But I don't think it's going to here as it stands. So I think we can put Malcolm in for 90 minutes because he's not going to play on Saturday. And the same for Donaldson, really. I just want to keep everyone involved and playing football. It's going to be the last game of the morning due to the full start. And then we've got 5 games to finish off on Tuesday. New gen is regen in my eyes. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? They are officially new gen. Zeno, you're absolutely spot on. But for the older folk, like myself, it was always regens back in the day, wasn't it? But it's a debate that will rage on in the Football Manager community for many, many years, I can assure you. But I don't mind what you call them here. You can call them either or. We know what we mean. That's the main thing. I've just seen, was that Shamrock going out to Atletico Madrid? Did I read that right? No, it was Basel. I read it completely wrong. Bilbao beat Hajduk Split. But to see that Shamrock Rovers got through another round into the last... Is that the last 8? The last 4? It's an incredible effort. Last 8, wasn't it? I've also got one other thing to show you this morning before we go and get into the last game. And I've saved it till there's plenty of you in. Is we had our youth intake just before we came live this morning. Mockery on loan next season is definitely a plan. But there is some positives as well. So if we go to the development centre, I think most of them have been signed on now. But there were 3 players that are worth a look at. So let's go to the under-18s. So number 1, Stephen Dunn. 1.5-star ability, 5-star potential left back. 15 years of age. Really good base of attributes. Determined, brave, hard worker. Great in a tackle. We've probably got to improve him going forward. But he looks like he's going to be a superstar. So even from next year, I might have him as backup left back. And then Ray Milligan. 1.5-star, 5-star potential striker. And I think the difference this year, again, great personality. Good core attributes. Off the ball's brilliant. Composure. Finishing, first touch, dribbling. I think he's going to be an absolute gem. So if we can keep hold of those guys, they're going to be brilliant. Again, good personality, determined. We've got some real quality there. The last one, not quite as big potential, and you'll have to forgive the pronunciation, is Sang-Soo Hong, who's a 15-year-old left winger. Not quite so good, but again, should be an SPL standard player. But those 2 in particular could be another 2 off the cartel of brilliant players from Dundee United youth system. Esraf, well done, mate. I used to hate reading saves where they would win the quadruple every year or get promoted on 100 points. Well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? I know my audience isn't as big as some others because I don't manage certain clubs and I'm not a storyteller or anything like that. But I try to make it realistic. And the only strength I have on this side of content to other people is I genuinely love football at different levels, you know. There aren't many other FM YouTubers who watch the Irish Premiership, the Scottish Championship, the National League, who support teams outside the Premier League even. And I guess a big benefit with Luton is we've played in most divisions the last 10 years. So that's something I'll always try to point through in my saves, because that's the thing I love. And that's why the podcast works as well, because we love football. Great traditional Scottish name that. I did chuckle a bit when I saw he had Scottish nationality. I didn't actually check to see if he had any others. I should probably. Because if he's listed as 100% Scottish, that is brilliant. Let's go and have a look. So, information. Oh no, see? Other nationalities he qualifies for is Hong Kong. So, you've got to be fair. Our final game is against Motherwell. We've got to make 1 or 2 enforced changes. SOF's old school. Yes, me too with the regens. Thank you all for coming in as well. Do appreciate it. If you haven't yet, please do chuck a thumbs up on it. Come and get involved in the chat as always, as we get into our final game of the morning as Dundee United face Motherwell. And then I'm off to very quickly record Monday and Tuesday's episodes. So I'm not as far ahead this week due to work. So left wing, who are we going to go for? Mason Bennett will come back into the squad, but I think I'm going to start Cornick because he's been in better form. Newman doesn't need to be on the bench, so we can get an extra sort of defender or midfielder on. And I'm going to put young Nielsen there because I want to try and involve some of those youngsters in the squad. Everyone else is fully fit, is ready to go. And I think we're about as good as we can be. So let's go and get back into it. The final game of the morning is Motherwell. And we should be able to wrap up third place with a win. So if you can see the passion, that's why I watch. I appreciate that. I hope it comes across. I think at first, and I'll be fair, like if you go back and watch a video from like a year and a half ago, you'll cringe. Like the start of FM20. Because I was trying so hard to be like a broadcaster, like the other. You know, to be a big YouTuber, you've got to be like one of the big ones. It doesn't work. Just be yourself. It's the only advice I can give people who are doing other things. Because it doesn't matter if you've got 10,000 people along if they can't watch you more than once a week and you don't particularly enjoy it. So I'd rather have 2,300 subscribers where loads of them come and watch and come and get involved in the live streams than 10,000 subscribe because I do the big experiments every year and then nobody really come in to watch the main videos. So I appreciate the support. I appreciate the kind words. And I'm really glad that what I try to project comes across there. As we're coming forward early on with Harry Cornick, can we get a final win in the morning? Because this could be our best live stream in weeks. And Lawrence Shankland is back amongst the goals. And when he's doing that, we very rarely lose games because Shankland is becoming brilliant. The back four is finally settled. And Jason Kerr, after long-term injury, is going to struggle to get back in. We might have to keep Matheson as well, just to make sure that we keep continuity there, albeit his wage is higher. Because I don't want to be back to square one last year. I think the change of formation has worked. As Mark mentioned, the midfield three is the best midfield combination we've had in a long time. And the extra wingers has just given us a bit of depth in January. As McCann crosses in, Dembele heads in for 2. Can we push for second? Champions League football might be the finish here. Thank you for the extra thumbs up as well. Lovely to be in double figures again. Really do appreciate all the support. And hopefully we can get a third. As Mallon puts it in. Dropped by the keeper. Shankland puts it in. Dundee United are flying. Who would have thought this 3 or 4 episodes ago? It's come out of absolutely nowhere. Jack, how many hours a week do you think you play FM? I would say, if you include time where I'm playing it and recording an episode, I don't know. Ironically, not as much as I used to. Because I used to get frustrated with saves. Like a lot of people have said before in the chat and that. I couldn't really get stuck to a save. Or if I had a bad summer in the transfer window, I'd get annoyed and go off it for a week and try like 5 or 6 different others. It's actually probably made me a bit more disciplined. So, I would say actively probably 15 a week. Probably 4 of that is recording 7 or 8 episodes. 3 of that's live streams. And then probably 8 to 10 hours between them. So somewhere between 15 and 18. But it's less than before I did this, which is ironic. The main biggest thing that's changed on the channel in the last year is because I'm producing episodes that are more naturally me, basically. Or basically are just me. Is that the editing time, instead of being an hour and a half, is 40, 45 minutes because I'm not having to cut much out. I'm not making many mistakes. So that's been the biggest difference, I think. But playing FM, I've got a bit more of a balance now. Particularly with the podcast, I'm watching more football. And obviously I've got to pay attention to other people at some point as well. And with work, it has to be that way, because otherwise it just gets a bit too difficult. So, we're 4-0 up. We should have won this game. We're definitely going to rest people towards the end. And hopefully, it's just going to be a comfortable day. It's just about avoiding injuries now, getting the youngsters on. So, I mean, we've got Nielsen on the bench. So, if we don't concede soon, we'll give Mengi a rest, because he's not had one in ages. We'll get Darren Watson on, the youngster. We'll just try and improve these players. As Sanders gets it on the left, goes all the way back to Carroll. They've committed a lot of men here, Motherwell. It could lead to a goal, but if we win it back, it'll be chaos. As O'Donnell gets down the right, the former Luton man, into the box. Good goal. Really good goal. So let's not talk about excitement yet. Oh, that's so kind of you. Thank you. SOF, do appreciate it. It's a lovely little gift, that, as well. But thank you for the kind words. Thank you for your support. And it really does make a difference. So, big thumbs up. Big thank you. I wasn't looking, so I have no idea if the graphic worked. And if not, I'll have to work out how to make it work. But you'll be pinned in the chat. So, thank you for your support. And I'll obviously leave a comment afterwards to say thank you too. It is appreciated. As it is, though, we're doing absolutely brilliantly here. And it's just been a positive stream all round, hasn't it? An active chat talking football. All wins with Dundee United. And SOF, you finished it off in style. So thank you. It really does mean a lot. And thank you to everyone just for being involved in the chat. Just for coming and getting down in the comments. Just for coming and making an effort. It makes a lot of a difference to us. What I have got to worry about very quickly is the fact that Motherwell have scored 2 goals. And we're starting to look a bit complacent. So let's go and make a change. Harry Cornick replaced by Bennett. I'll come back to the chat in a moment. O'Reilly will be replaced by McNulty, maybe? In fact, no. Darren Watson. Then Bele on the left. Bennett in the middle. Watson on the right. And then Matheson at right back replaced by Dehaney because he's not had the best game. And we'll just try and live with it because Mengi's going to have to stay on now. We can't risk it at 4-2. Fair play. The graphic did work. Oh, thank you. I'm glad to hear it. I want, particularly for people who are supporting, subscribing, I want you to be able to have a moment of limelight as well. It does make a difference. Jack, helps all your saves this year are pretty good nick. It's probably the first time it's ever happened where we've had fairly continued success. I mean, the head coach, we've never had a meteoric rise like that before. Never. So, I mean, it's something that will probably never happen again. And it's made me love Scottish football more than I did. And Benjamin Siegrist is making me fall out of love with it. Because he's just dropped one through him. And it is 4-3. Oh, no. It was all going so well. And now it's going to end like this. I'm going to have to go a bit more defensive. Oh, what do we do? 4-5 wins in a row. And there's always a bit of arrogance round the corner for Motherwell. I know they've thrown everyone forward. We're going to have to berate them because it's been a poor half. But I don't know if we're going to cling on. I'll go and put the time wasting on and I'll be straight back with the chat. But, my words, I did not expect to be clinging on for dear life in this game. Never get too excited by this Dundee United save. SOF, the graphic work deserved, mate. Thank you very much. It does mean a lot. It's lovely. Do you know what? It's been probably the nicest thing for us in lockdowns and things like that is to be able to come live. And it's why we want to start it really in the podcast channel when we can get back together again. It's just to have that interaction with the people who make the videos work. So it is appreciated. Jacob's very excited by the Siegrist Masterclass. Of course you are. Mark's asking if you're on the Discord page, SOF. Jack, helps all the saves are in good nick. And I mean, that's the thing. I know we've had hiccups. So like the Bangor save, I won't spoil it for people, but this season we've had our first big hiccup as we've scored a 5th with Shankland. He is on fire and saving the day. But after 4 or 5 clean sheets, that defensive display's got to be a worry. And I'll have to tighten up for Celtic next time. But yeah, the other saves, I mean, I know the head coach, the last few episodes have been tense because of a very tough decision, but it's just been really enjoyable. I've really loved this game, particularly made in a pandemic. They have to take a lot of credit for. And for you guys, you've basically doubled the size of my channel in 3 months. So I can't thank you enough for it. We're going to go and see where that leaves us in the league and what position we're in for the end of the stream today. I don't want to keep you here all day, of course, because I know at 12 o'clock on a Saturday and Sunday, that's when all the football starts and you all go to start watching your teams, and I'll never stop that. But I have appreciated it this morning, and we'll see what we've got to come back to and what position we're in for the end of the season. Jacob, where's Nathan Baxter gone? So he had an injury. He's just had like 2 or 3 little knocks. He came back. He had 1 poor game. He's had 2 or 3 good ones since, but I just can't keep him fit and get him training consistently. Once he does that, we'll be able to fly along. So thank you for sticking with it this morning. I know it was a bit of a dodgy start, but we got there in the end. The new software's worked, which is good, and it means I can keep up with the chat a bit better than I was previously. So it's all making a difference, and I hope we're gradually getting a little bit professional. So we're going to praise Lawrence Shankland. Celtic are crowned champions, which after 2 successive ones for Rangers, for Celtic to do that 4 games before the end is a pretty astonishing turnaround. But we looked at the way they invested, didn't we? I mean, their transfer work's unbelievable. They sold a player for 30 million and bought in 3, including 2 in the same position of a better quality. Figaro is 7 AM where it matters. Thank you for popping in. Lovely to see another new face amongst all the regulars. Thank you for coming and popping in towards the end. I hope you're enjoying the stream. If you've missed any, there'll be a full replay afterwards, so please don't worry. I know for some people in other parts of the world, which I'm lucky to have people watching from now, that you're not always going to be able to get up in the middle of the night, or want to anyway. So no problem if you can catch up on replay too. It all makes a difference. So in terms of the rest of the season, Tuesday's evening stream at 5:30 is the final 4 league games. So Celtic at home, Aberdeen away, Hibs at home, Rangers away. And then the big one finishes it, the Scottish Cup final against Rangers. To answer any question you might want to ask, I'm not going to wear a suit. I will be wearing casual attire and enjoying it as normal. But that's going to be a massive end. And if we can win 2 trophies in 3 years, would be remarkable. But against Rangers, that's going to be very difficult. In terms of the Scottish Premiership, with 15 clear of Motherwell, we've wrapped up 3rd. We will be in the Europa League because we're in the cup final against Rangers. So we can't be any lower. But we could nick 2nd. I mean, it's unlikely, but there's a chance. So we're going to fight for it. But we're in a brilliant position. Shankland's the top scorer in the league. The cup's looking good. And we got through to the knockouts in Europe. We're doing as well as we possibly can. The finances, very good. Very healthy for the first time. And I'm hoping it's going to be a big summer at Dundee United. 1 or 2 tweaks, some stars coming through. A great youth intake as well. And after a hard season, there's a lot to look forward to. SOF not on Discord, I'll get in and join. Yeah, come and get involved in the football chat. Just make sure if you watch the videos a bit later in the evening that you mute it or don't look at it for a few hours, because obviously people get excited when they watch them. But otherwise, over Easter I've got a little bit of time off. I will be separating it into like football manager chat, football chat and other basically. So that's another upgrade to come soon. But thank you so much for everyone this morning. I do appreciate you all coming along, putting your thumbs up and being so active in the chat. It's great to keep us all sane for an hour and a half on a weekend morning. Thank you for joining me for the day change as well. It's only the 2nd week we changed to Saturday and you're all hearing your numbers again. I hope to see you on Tuesday night for the big one against Rangers in the cup final to see how we finish off the league season and whether we can get